When the airspace east of the Taiwan Strait was enveloped by an electromagnetic storm, 4 J-20S pierced the ionosphere like ghosts. Rear cabin weapons officer fingertips across the holographic tactical screen. 24 Attack 11 drones instantly split into 6 formations. The belly of the aircraft through nanoscale graphene interference cloud in the stratosphere blossomed into a black vortex, with a diameter of 20 kilometers, the peak moment of the 2025 Thunder-Deterrence exercise. 12 Simulation of F-35 target aircraft in the electronic 12 target aircraft simulating F-35S crashed, one after another in the electronic maze, while the J-20S formation lost only 3 drones. This 48-minute preview of the future war engraved the revolutionary value of the two-seat 5th-generation aircraft into the history of the change of air control in the Western Pacific. The whine of the turbofan 15 engine is the drum of war for air power in the new era. The thrust dilemma of the turbofan 15 engine, which was once restricted by the Russian L-31F, has been completely shattered. The serrated ternary vector nozzle spits out a blue jet at 1950 degrees Celsius, and the single-engine 18.8-ton thrust pushes the thrust-to-weight ratio to 11.7, realizing the Mach 1.82 supercruise. The revolutionary application of ceramic matrix composites reduces the infrared signature of the tail nozzle to 26% of that of the L-31F. And with the belly conformal tanks, the combat radius exceeds 2,100 kilometers, and Andersen Air Force Base in Guam has been included in the Tactical Strike Circle. When the U.S. 6th-generation aircraft prototype is still in Palmdale wind tunnel testing, Chengdu Huangshanba Pulse production line is 68 hours, frame of the rhythm of the dumplings. 3D printing of titanium alloy load-bearing frame to make the airframe weight reduction of 15%. The structural strength of the inverse of the 23% increase in the subversive process will be the cost of mass production, pressed to the 82% of the F-35. In the Huangshanba final assembly workshop, the magnetic levitation conveyor belt carries the fuselage skeleton, sliding through the constant temperature environment. The mechanical arm installs the gallium nitride radar array with a precision of 0.02 millimeters, and every rivet hole is flowing with the digital blood of the Industrial Revolution. The tactical terminal of the aft cabin weapons officer is staging a silent revolution in warfare. The 1.8-meter diameter third-generation gallium nitride phased array radar on the nose of the aircraft is like a heavenly eye that perceives the netherworld, identifying the type and specification of the wing bolts of a B-21 bomber from 450 kilometers away. And the 36 distributed photoelectric apertures make up a visual neural network with no dead angle. In the most intense confrontation phase of the Thunder exercise, the Kangdome system created an amazing record: 0.25 seconds to generate 22 sets of tactical programs, commanding drone clusters to implement a triple tactical strangulation. The first wave of electromagnetic decoy swarms induced the Burke destroyer radar, the second wave of suicide drones to consume the Standard 6 missile inventory, and the third wave of electromagnetic pulse bombs. The second wave of suicide drones depleted the inventory of Standard 6 missiles, and the third wave of EMP-carrying raid groups completely paralyzed the Aegis system. The 1+6+N architecture is deconstructing the traditional laws of air warfare. The 8 Strike 11C drones follow in the shadow. The super-ignition ramjet engine pushes them to achieve Mach 4 death raids, and each carries 24 miniature cruise missiles in its belly to form an intelligent sub-mother bomb cloud. 2025 March Joint Exercises witnessed historic moments. A J-20S locks onto a maneuvering target ship 1,800 kilometers away in the Bashi Channel, and the data chain penetrates the ionospheric disturbances and connects directly to the Fujian ship's command center. 3 minutes later, the Hawk 2-1C hypersonic missile broke the waves and rose into the air, and the tungsten alloy warhead with 6 times the speed of sound tore a huge hole under the draft line of the target ship, completing the first air-sea-land closed-loop killing and maiming in seconds in the history of human war. The global strategic balance is tilted drastically by the roar of the aviation engine. The Pentagon's 2030 air power crisis internal report warns in bold letters: Guam base lost air power within 72 hours in the projections, and the runway was covered by drone swarms up to 93%. The Tier 3 upgrade of the F-35 is in deep trouble because of the millions of lines of code vulnerability, and the delivery of the F-35 has plummeted to 61 units in 2025, and the unfinished bodies piled up in Lomas factories are just like the gravestones of the modern wars. In order to save the situation, the U.S. military was forced to advance the first flight of the GAD to 2027, with a $42 billion research and development budget. that is like a cow in the mud. Across the Pacific, dominoes collapsed one after another. Japan's Ministry of Defense tore up the purchase contract for 142 F-35 overnight, and the Shinkan 2 verification aircraft was urgently replaced by Chinese-made gallium nitride components. Russia's Su-57 two-seat wind tunnel model is covered in dust, and the supporting S-70 unmanned aerial vehicle has been reduced to a fixture due to the data chain transmission rate being less than one-fifth that of the J-20S system. Even more dramatic is the announcement made by Britain's Secretary of State for Defence in the Parliament, who choked up and announced the restructuring of the Tempest fighter aircraft program. More dramatically, the British Defence Secretary announced in Parliament, choking back tears, that the Tempest program had been reorganized, and that a Chinese-made radar cooling module had become the pacemaker that kept the heartbeat of the sixth-generation aircraft alive. The silent revolution in the combat command module burns more brightly than the missile's tail flame. 70% of the rear cabin weapons officers' operations are focused on algorithmic optimization, and a brain-computer interface device on a test model in the Southern Theater of Operations has enabled pilots to fine-tune drone attack paths through their minds. In a recent cross-military region exercise, a special pilot completed the formation conversion of 8 Attack 11S by thought signals alone, with a reaction speed 2.3 seconds faster than manual operation. Each J-20S is a mobile Super IP node and Air Marshal 500 early warning aircraft to build a kill cloud network covering 2 million square kilometers. When the low-orbit satellite constellation injects the target data stream into the tactical chain, the flight trajectory of hypersonic missiles is calculated in advance in the virtual battlefield. In the extreme test at the Ju-Rai base last winter, the system still maintains a 0.8-second information update rate under the environment of strong electromagnetic interference, which is 19 times that of the traditional NATO Link 16 data chain. Efficiency. At night in the Southeast Coastal Airbase, the newly installed J-20S fleet is strolling in the Dragon Scale style. The red star on the drogue tail pulsates in the blue flame of the vector nozzle, just like the unburnt fire in the Sino-Japanese War 100 years ago. At the end of the runway, the ground crew scans the belly compartment with a laser detector, and the black body of a Thunderbolt 17 ultra-long-range missile reflects a cold light, a weapon with a range of more than 400 kilometers that, with unmanned drone relay guidance, is capable of hunting high-value targets outside the range of AWACS detection. Inside the cockpit, the helmet monitor of the rear seat weapons officer is streaming a waterfall of data, with high-definition mapping of Taiwan's east coast, and electromagnetic spectrum analysis from the Attack 11, intertwined into a digital battlefield. While Western military observers are still debating the necessity of the two-seat design, the real-world data from the South China Sea exercises have given the ultimate answer. The J-20S formation with a two-person crew is 2.8 times more effective than the single-seat version, and the mission can last up to 4.2 hours longer. The lights in Huangshanbe are on all night long, and the 451st J-20S is undergoing final debugging on the assembly line. In the wind tunnel laboratory, engineers are testing the new plasma stealth skin, a magical material that can produce a quantum tunneling effect on radar waves, which may make the warplane completely disappear on X-band radar. 300 kilometers away from the drone command center, the big screen is dancing in the Western Pacific Ocean real-time air situation map, representing the Attack-11 cluster of green dots, like a swarm of bees to cover the key airways. While the outline of a sixth-generation aircraft still looms large in conceptual drawings, the J-20S's twin cockpits have already spawned an even more fearsome form of warfare. A swarm mothership, program tested in secret last year, showed that a modified J-20S could command 48 suicide drones to conduct multiple saturation attacks at the same time. In a top-secret memo, the Pentagon's intelligence analyst wrote, "They have sold the last inch of fighter space, but bought the entire future battlefield." At this moment, as dawn breaks over the East China Sea, a new batch of steel warhawks rises into the sky against the rising sun, their wingtips tearing through cloud flotsam like white ribbons, as they kick off a 100-year ceremony of air power handover.